Hare Krishna. My name is Krishna Kirti Das, and I am the convener of the ISKCON India Scholars Board. And with me today is Sriman Sridhar Srinivas Prabhu, also my colleague in the ISKCON India Scholars Board. And today we're going to discuss an important yet unfortunate incident that is going to tie together many different controversies that we're having in ISKCON today. So the incident is the fall down and atonement of Trivikrama Prabhu, formerly Trivikrama Maharaja or Trivikrama Swami. So to begin with, I would like to read verbatim a letter that he wrote to disciples and friends. It's undated, but he must have written it some weeks ago, some time ago. So here it is. Dear disciples and friends, I write to regretfully inform you that I have broken my vows of sannyas order and that I engaged in a sexual relationship with a woman disciple starting earlier this year. I feel terrible that I have disappointed Srila Prabhupada in this way. Of course, I also realize that many of you will be heartbroken by this news. This has come to the attention of the GBC Executive Committee, the Guru Services Committee, and Sannyas Committee, which are aware of my actions and are guiding me to rectify my grievous behaviors. As a result, I have agreed voluntarily on the following. 1, to stop initiating. 2, to give up the sannyas order of life. 3, I will stay in India in Mayapur or the Govardhan Retreat Center or some other similar place for a minimum of 1 year to focus on atonement and purification. During that time, I will increase my spiritual practices, especially hearing and chanting. 4, I will not give any formal classes, including online classes, for a minimum of 1 year. 5, after that period is finished, my situation will be further reviewed by the Guru Services Committee. 6, in the meantime, I ask you all to stay in ISKCON, take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, the GBC, Diksha Gurus, and other senior devotees. 7, if any of you would like, you can be reinitiated by another ISKCON Guru. If you want to do this, I encourage you to do so. 8, those of you who have been aspiring to be first initiated by me should take shelter of another ISKCON Guru and seek initiation from that devotee as per ISKCON guidelines. 9, those of you who are first initiated by me and want second initiation should develop relationship with another ISKCON Guru and seek second initiation from them at the appropriate time. For these 2 classes, I will try to be available to give guidance in an informal way if you so desire. 10, to those who wish to maintain their relationships with me as disciples, I advise that until further notice, they should minimize publicly displaying their feelings of respect and reverence. 11, in any of the above matters regarding initiations, if you want clarifications, please contact the Guru Services Committee, who can either advise you or guide you to a devotee or devotees who can advise you further. I ask that you all to pray for me. I cannot excuse myself from these sins and will need your support going forward. Yours sincerely, Trivikrama Das. So that was Maharaja's letter. And in this regard, I had written to him. I had written a personal letter to him because I know him for a long time, and he's always been a very kind well-wisher and instructor to me. And my wife also. We always remember him fondly. So I wrote a personal letter to him expressing some issues or concerns I have about some of the numbered items that have been listed for his atonement. So in particular, I wanted to address the second item, which is to give up the sannyas order of life. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. Or to be more precise, I want to say I would probably be in disagreement with it, and I want to explain why. So the first thing I want to mention is a shloka from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanado va shradhayavan najayate. So this means that as long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, and so forth, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. Karmani kurvita. That means one has to do the duties. So the point about this shloka is that in the lower stages of devotion, and when your taste for devotional service is not awakened, then you have to follow the principles, the varnashram principles, the regulative principles. So here we are dealing with a case where obviously someone is not on that platform of being fully attracted to the Krishna Katha, the messages of Krishna. So he must fall into this lower category, like most of the rest of us, and therefore he has to be situated in some ashram. You have to have an ashram. So just to read some further, Srimad Bhagavatam, text number 38 and 39 of the 7th canto, 15th chapter of the Bhagavatam. Grihastasya kriya tyago vrata tyago vatordapi tapasvi no brahma seva picture indriya lolata ashrama pasada hyete kav ashrama vidambanaha devamaya vimudhamstan upekshitanukampaya. Says here, quote, it is abominable for a person living in the Grihastha ashram to give up the regulative principles, for a brahmachari not to follow the brahmachari vows while living under the care of the guru, for a vanaprastha to live in the village and emerge in and engage in so-called social activities, or for a sannyasi to be addicted to sense gratification. One who acts in this way is to be considered the lowest renegade. Such a pretender is bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should either reject him from any position or, taking compassion upon him, teach him, if possible, to resume his original position. So Vamshidhar, in his commentary to these shlokas, also says more or less the same thing. He says, they're imitating the ashramas. So this is, this imitation is vidambanaha, ashrama vidambanaha, to imitate. So without understanding them, this is the meaning of anukurvanti. Those whose ashram is the mere disguise, not genuine, are not true ashramis, for they do not attain the fruit of the ashram. Out of compassion, one should not reject them, but approach them and offer instruction in truth. Alternatively, one may think these people are of such a kind. What use have we for them? Since association with such people leads to misfortune, one should avoid giving or associating with them. So, that's the upekshetanukampaya. So, anukampaya is with compassion. You neglect them with compassion, and Vamshidhar is giving two bhavartas, two glosses, two meanings to this. One could be either that compassion, you overlook their fault and instruct them to bring them to the higher level, or you neglect them. You keep your distance away from them. And Prabhupada, he's following Vamshidhar in this. In his own purport, he says, quote, such persons should be shown compassion, and if one has sufficient strength, one should teach them to stop from following the wrong path in life. Otherwise, one should reject them and pay them no attention. So the bottom line is that if you've fallen down and you have to go through atonement, according to the Bhagavatam itself, and Prabhupada and other acharyas like Vamshidhar, that you have to be situated in an ashram. That if you're going to be brought, you have to be brought back to the path you were on. Otherwise, then it's rejection. So those are the only two possibilities. So if we're talking about atonement, then Maharaj, then Trivikrama Swami, he will most likely have to re-accept his former position as a sannyasi, because the basic principle is that in the lower stages you have to be situated in an ashram. Srinivas Prabhu, is there anything you want to say about the process of atonement in this regard?
Yes, I think we discussed this in one of the videos before, and I'll come to that point. But prior to that, prayascitta, we also, ISKCON India Scholars Board wrote an article, Vedic jurisprudence, right? I contributed to that article. Various shastras are providing what is the prayascitta when a devotee falls down. So one of the things that Satkriya Sara Deepika, quoting Padma Purana, is clearly saying prayascittam tu paramam praptis tasya kevalam kuryat karmatmakam vapi vasudevam anusmaran. So I mean it's a longer one. I'll just go through the translation. For a Vaishnava, the highest kind of atonement, basically Gopala Bhatta Goswami is not suggesting that a Vaishnava go through a similar atonement, that a strict smarta. So is distinguishing the Vaishnava way of atonement from smarta. So some of the things that are prescribed by GBC seems to come directly from here, which is for a Vaishnava, the highest kind of atonement is full surrender to the Lord. Otherwise, one should perform activities while remembering Lord Vasudeva. By seeing the Lord's devotees, touching his feet, serving him, feeding him with cooked grains and water, speaking sweetly, taking the dust of his feet, drinking the water from his feet, eating Mahaprasada of the Lord, and chanting the names of the Lord, one can purify oneself specifically from the contamination of seeing and touching non-devotees. One who constantly engages in worshipping Lord Hari is considered to have performed all activities like sacrifice, charity, penance, austerity, atonement, etc. So this is one stage that is recommended by Gopala Bhatta Goswami. But the next thing that he recommends, he adds a footnote to this particular set of verses, and he quotes from Bharadwaj Samhita 3.26. We can go. He's directly quoting this coming from a Narada Pancharatrika scripture. Now, beyond that, he says a satvata prayascitta vidhanam. For a sadhu, a satvata, what is the method of prayascittam specifically? Because in the case, it starts like this: Kintu cha kachit eva tat prapadyate. Kim tat. So basically, he's saying he should do the process of surrender again. How is that? Kevalam Sri Guru Govindastas. So he should go to his Guru, right? And finally it is going to say get reinitiated with hearing the mantras again. The Prapati mantras, which means in our case, get the Hare Krishna mantra again. First he has to go to the Guru. Very clearly says, Kevalam Guru Govindastas. He has to go only to that same Guru. He cannot go to any other Guru. Tadabhave, if that Guru is not there. In this case, Srila Prabhupada is the Guru of Trivikrama Maharaj. So he has to go back to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is not there. Now this brings a practical case of the right use of Ritvik. So we'll see that. Tad abhave, tad patnyas. Tad abhave, here abhave mean disappearance or not available. One can say, well, Prabhupada was sannyasi, he didn't have patni. So, yeah, then tad abhave, tad putrat. So they can say he should go to his sons who are practicing devotees. Now, in case of Prabhupada, it may not be there. Tad abhave satirtha guru bratus. He should go to his tirtha or purified guru bratu, god brothers, the disciples of Prabhupada. This is very important. Why? And tad abhave sajatiya ananya sharana sadhutaha. These are all the Ritviks or the representatives that he can go to. And then punaha samskaratishaya suddhasya tasya Sri Vishnu pujanam. He has to worship Lord Vishnu after getting purified by getting the mantra again. Bhagavan nama mantra grahanam punaha. You see, you have to take the holy name again. Nama mantra grahanam punaha. Samskardishaya shuddhasya tasya Sri Vishnu pujanam tan namadi shravana kirtana smarana vandanadi purvakam mahotsavadikam karaniyam. So this is what is to be done. Karaniyam. What should be done? One should. So I'll read the translation for this. The word cha indicates another kind of atonement for the Vaishnavas. What is that atonement? One should again accept the name and mantra from one's own spiritual master. Punaha pancha samskara purvakam Sri Bhagavan nama mantra grahanam. If the Guru is not present, left his body, one should accept from the Guru's wife. Tad abhave tad patnyas. If she is not present or not available, then from his son. If he is not present or not available, then from his god brother. And if he is not available, then from any other pure devotee. Sajatiya ananya sharana sadhutaha. Having similar qualities. Thus, becoming exceedingly pure by having accepted the Pancha Samskaras again, he should offer obeisances to and worship Lord Vishnu by fully engaging in hearing, chanting and remembering the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Lord Vishnu. So this is the first thing that has to be done. That it's very clear, especially if the disciple is unable to follow the rules of prapatti. Prapatti means surrender. At the time of surrender, we have taken vows. If the disciple falls away from the vow, this is the remedy given directly. This is by Gopala Bhatta Goswami, and this is what we call reinitiation through Ritvik system. This is a valid system. Even though Prabhupada is not there, it is a case where his disciple Trivikrama Maharaj when was he initiated? Krishna Kirti Prabhu, probably. You probably know him.
1960s, pre-1970.
Oh, see, he is one of the ones who has directly heard Bhagavan Nama. He got the Bhagavan Nama. He got the, what is that? Grahanam. He accepted from his Guru. So, if his Guru is not there right now, he has to go to his representatives. And he has a choice of whom he can take. So this must be first prescribed, first thing first. And often within ISKCON, reinitiation means the Guru fell down and the disciples are going and taking that alone is not reinitiation. Even and you are talking about resituating or situating back in the Dharma, right? Of duty. But first thing has to be that you have to get back the Pancha Samskaras done again. This is the one case where Pancha Samskaras have to be done again by only certain people. It's not that it's a concocted. It is only by representatives who are authorized, who are given in this. He cannot go and arrange his own Ritvik today. Somebody from a, like this other Bangalore temple is doing. He cannot do that. He has to go find one who has gotten the mantra from Prabhupada. There must be a link. So to establish the link back to your Guru, you have to go through, and that doesn't mean the God brother becomes the Guru here, because he's actually giving the name, he's giving the mantra, he has to give everything, right? But it doesn't mean that the God brother or the wife or the putra becomes, the guru of the fallen disciple. Yeah, this is the real use, the correct usage for a Ritvik.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing that the whole Ritvik system, or the people who advocate it, say that there is no such. They deny that there can be any such atonement at all. Yet, just see that the Pancharatrika Shastras, our own acharyas like Goswami and Satkira Saridipika, even the Bhagavatam itself, and Prabhupada himself are talking about atonement.
Yeah,
and you can't say that this is for a sannyasi, not a diksha guru. But yes, it is, because a sannyasi is supposed to be the spiritual master of all varnas and ashrams.
And key point here is, after accepting the name, he has to come back and, you see, tan namadi shravana kirtana smarana vandanadi purvakam mahotsavadikam karaniyam. He must do the worship that he was doing previously. The proof, purvakam. Prior to falling, whatever he was doing, he has to continue that service.
So both from a point of view of the Pancharatrika Vidhi and also from the point of view of Dharma, the Varnashram system, one has to be situated, one has to continue with his original position.
That's true. Definitely it has to, and that's what is the real compassion. We are not simply excommunicate somebody. That's the wrong thing to do. We have to be compassionate, we have to help, and this can happen to anyone actually. This is not that we are so confident. But when and one more point, I think you will probably touch on this. When you talked about dharma, I think we need this varnashrama dharma. If varnashrama dharma was there in a society, this could have been prevented. Yes, to err is human, but it could have been checked. The dharma is the safety net. Doing this austerity is like walking, as Bhaktivikrama Swami Maharaja in his book Glimpses to Traditional Indian Life, he has clearly pointed out that walking on a tightrope between two tall buildings. But the dharma, as you are calling of dharma, that is the varnashrama dharma, a society that wherein people are not alone. Even sannyasis cannot be alone with a female disciple or a female secretary. If this was checked, if this had been checked long back, there would have been a counseling program. Instead of going through this crunch period, we would have detected the problem in pinch.
Yeah, well, I think that what we have here in our own societies, we have two different ideas about this, and one of the ideas is to go away from varnashram, or not to take it very seriously, and the other is to take it very seriously. And I think what Maharaja's unfortunate incident, his fall down, shows is that we have to take this very seriously. So, I want to highlight one thing. This is and with regard to the female Diksha Guru issue. This is another current topic that's of a lot of importance right now. So, and this
incident is very relevant.
This is very relevant to the female Diksha Guru issue as well. So I want to read from the Shastra Advisory Council's 2005 paper on female Diksha Gurus. Now, they're talking about some of the reasons why a woman shouldn't be a female Diksha Guru, and they have their recommendation why. Well, let me read it, what they say. First of all, they say, quote, they're quoting from Srila Prabhupada in the Srimad Bhagavatam, his purport to Canto 6, Chapter 18, Text 42. These are reasons against a woman, and this is what they say about it. Quote, this is Prabhupada. A woman's nature has been particularly well studied by Kashyapa Muni. Women are self-interested by nature, and therefore they should be protected by all means so that their natural inclination to be too self-interested will not be manifested. Women need to be protected by men. A woman should be cared for by her father in her childhood, by her husband in her youth, and by her grown sons in her old age. This is the injunction of Manu, who says that a woman should not be given independence at any stage. Women must be cared for so that they will not be free to manifest their natural tendency for gross selfishness. There have been many cases, even in the present day, in which women have killed their husbands to take advantage of their insurance policies. This is not a criticism of women, but a practical study of their nature, unquote. So the SAC comments here. Women on the bodily platform are selfish and should therefore be protected not only from lusty male predators, but from their own lower natures as well. This is clear. The rest of the purport below, however, makes an important distinction. And then they continue with the purport. And the purport continues, quote, such natural instincts of a woman or a man are manifested only in the bodily conception of life. When either a man or woman is advanced in spiritual consciousness, this bodily conception of life practically vanishes, unquote. That's Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 18, Text 42, purport. So now the SAC further comments, they say, when the bodily concept of life vanishes, the material qualities of one's lower nature are transcended. The conclusion must be, therefore, that if a female devotee is actually advanced above the bodily platform, she may assume the post of a spiritual master. And that's a view that myself and my colleague here, Sridhar Srinivas, do accept. You really do have to be above the bodily concept of life. So the SAC continues. They say, here is a suggestion in relation to the above point. The bodily concept of life is transcended along with the modes of nature at the stage of bhava bhakti. But at the level of nishta, the residual anarthas are only remnants that no longer obstruct one's progress. See Madhurya Kandambini, Chapter 4. Therefore, we recommend that at least the symptoms of nishta should be seen in Diksha Guru candidates, whether male or female. Okay, so now, seen in light of Maharaja's fall down, this shows why this is not a valid conclusion. This is not a good recommendation here. Actually, this recommendation, it's a recommendation based on Anuman. It's not based on Shabda, because the Shabda, as we've seen in the Narada Pancharatra, the Bharadvaj Samhita, and also repeated by Srila Baladevi Vibhushana, quoting the Bharadvaj Samhita, is that the women only when they are on this higher level of bhava, when they have transcended, then they can be Diksha Gurus, otherwise not. And
not just the woman. I would like to not just the woman, even men who are Shudra nature.
Yeah, yes. Also women and Shudras and others who may be even below that level, but they have to be actually on that very high level in order to do it properly. And this is why just one person, and nobody can say that Trivikrama Maharaj was not advanced in Shravanam Kirtanam. He was certainly advanced. And we have the example of Maharaj Bharat. He was also very advanced, and he fell down. He got attracted to a deer. So Vishwamitra Muni is another example. He was also very advanced in tapasya, but yet he was still lured by a Menika. So what to speak of us people who are not so? We're not even 1,000 times. We're 1,000 times inferior to these, and even they had to fall down from being attracted to a woman. So therefore, the problem with this suggestion here, as I'm going to read it, here's a suggestion: at the level of nishta, the residual anarthas are only remnants. Therefore, we recommend that at least the symptoms of nishta should be seen in the Diksha Guru candidates, whether male or female. That's Anuman. Again, that's an inference. That's a speculation. It does not have the support of Shastra.
It's Viruddha.
It's Viruddha.
So Viruddha cannot even be an Anuman. It is something that doesn't come under the category of an evidence. If you make a statement like, and that is directly opposed by Shastra, then my statement is to be adharma. It is not even on the platform of dharma, is it not? If I make a statement that is directly violating for which there is a nisheda, I'm just maybe I don't want to exaggerate, but I'm just saying that it's certainly an apavada. You cannot make apavada the utsargas, and exceptions cannot be made rule.
Yes, that is correct. So, so this is a very important thing. And in the case of Maharaj, I just wanted to read this part from the Nectar of Instruction. So, Nectar of Instruction, the very first sloka gives the qualifications of a guru. So, vacho vegam, manasakroda vegam, etc. So now, in Prabhupada's purport, Prabhupada says this. He says that when one indulges in illicit sex life as defined by the Shastras, again, Prabhupada is saying defined by the Shastras.
Yes.
Either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya. These instructions apply not only to householders, but also to tyagis, or those who are in the renounced order of life. In his book Prema Vivarta, chapter 7, Sri Jagadananda Pandit says, "My dear brother, you're in the renounced order of life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. Do not think of women even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with a vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridas and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in fine garments, but always remain humble and serve their lordship, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, in your heart of hearts." So, my question is that we've had so many of these kinds of fall downs, not just this particular one, but so many before. Why haven't we had this moment here? Why aren't sannyasis, gurus, etc., getting rid of their female cooks, female secretaries, female therapists, whatnot? Why hasn't that happened?
Well, I have a question. When even a grihastha is advised strictly, the verse Chanakya Pandit says, don't sit next to your mother, don't sit next to your daughter. I mean, then how can you even accept a sannyasi to have any interaction with any woman? A grihastha is allowed only to have interaction with his wife. Matra duhitra, matra shwas. What is that verse?
Matra swasva duhitra va na vivikta sanopamit.
So that's the... Yes, senses are so strong. So be careful. So now what you're saying is exactly that. How could... so is it okay if I were to inject another thought? Just
please,
when you
please.
The point that you made now comes. Okay, we see men are falling down. This is the female Diksha Guru side of observation. The pro-female Diksha Gurus observe that men are falling down. They are not able to maintain. So go back to women and give them a chance. Now the Ritviks are saying, yes, your gurus are all falling down. So now go back to one who doesn't fall down, who is not even living with us. So you see, this is the coin of Apasiddhanta, or the coin of Apasampradaya Ashastriya. Female Diksha Guru is one side of this coin, and the Ritvik is on the other side of this coin. They are both are not based on Shastra.
Yes, yeah, that's the element they have in common, is that they treat Srila Prabhupada as Guru, Sadhu, Shastra all rolled into one. But what they don't consider is that Prabhupada knows what he meant, but we may misunderstand what Srila Prabhupada meant. Therefore, to make sure that our understanding is correct, we have to check our understanding against these different sources which are given. And Prabhupada instructed us that the Shastra, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya, Chitete Kariya Aikya, quoting Narottam Das Thakur. And of these, he says the Shastra is the center for all.
So yeah, even though we may be devoted to Shastra, Prabhupada, but in the case of Ritvik, or in the case of even Female Diksha Guru, because they don't produce the alignment, harmonization with Shastra, they present Prabhupada in opposition to our own Purva acharyas. In this case of Ritvik, okay, we saw now a big fall down just in front of our eyes. Let us all take to Ritvikism. That means we are misrepresenting Prabhupada against Gopala Bhatta Goswami's injunctions from Satkriya Sara Deepika. Gopala Bhatta Goswami said, get the person corrected, help him, and get him back to do what he was doing before.
And the Bhagavatam too. The Bhagavatam says the same thing. This Bhagavatam says that take compassion on him and try to correct him. And so that option is there. Ritviks take that off the table. So no, we're not going to do this. We have this July 9th letter, and now all of this is. But did Prabhupada say that his letters are going to be the law books for the next 10,000 years, or did he say that his books are going to be the law books for the next 10,000 years? Which has more priority?
Yes, and another thing is again misrepresenting Prabhupada or showing Prabhupada in light of opposition with his own Purva Acharya is not right representation. Because that means if the point that Prabhupada is the ultimate shelter, we should all be taking to Prabhupada as the Diksha Guru, then why did Gopala Bhatta Goswami write this prayascitta?
Yeah. So these people, I have a term for these people. Anti-Rupa Nuga Prabhupada Nugas. They follow Prabhupada, but in a way that goes against the Shastra and our previous acharyas. That's how you know it's wrong.
It's basically fitting Prabhupada into your agenda. Basically, you find something that will fit what you want to say. That's what you are saying. That it's a Anuman, or it's not even Anuman. I would say Anuman also is a pramana, and it has to be dharma, based on dharma.
But Anuman, the problem with Anuman is that Anuman has the four defects of the conditioned life, whereas the Shabda Praman does not. So that's a point, is that whenever we're going to make the recommendations, we have to be very careful to see that our recommendations or our suggestions, recommendations, like in this list that's offered for Trivikrama Maharaj, that they also be backed by the Shastra Pramans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one might say that, well, Prabhupada did this and Prabhupada did that. Well, this is the whole point: is that you can point to something that Prabhupada did, but is not necessarily mean that you should follow it. So the reason this is why we haven't had this. This is the reason why we haven't had this Chota Haridas moment. Okay, is because if you're only quoting Prabhupada, you have no sense of which is if I do this, am I imitating or am I actually following in his footsteps?
That's what I wanted to add. Yes, you cannot imitate.
What are those terms called? The two terms you were mentioning? I think anukaranam and anusaranam.
Yes, anukaranam and anusaranam.
Yeah. So anukaranam, I think, means imitation. Imitate. And anusaranam means to follow in the footsteps. Sar actually means essence. Yes. So kara means to do, karanam means to do, and saranam is the essence. So anu means to follow the essence, whereas you follow, superficially. So this is what happens. So this is why I think we haven't had our Chota Haridas moment yet in ISKCON, is because we're still we're trying to follow Prabhupada so closely that we actually block out the Shastra and the previous acharyas, their instructions too. As I said, at this point, all of our sannyasis, all of our gurus should be getting rid of any female secretaries, any female cooks, any female therapists, or whatnot. Fire them all. Not that we, want to put anybody in any difficulty, but this is just for everybody's good.
If at all they have to interact through their husbands. The woman should have protectors.
Yes.
Through whom the sannyasis can interact. It's not that you cannot. That means I don't think we are saying that sannyasis should not initiate women, but what we are saying here is they cannot be alone. They cannot have any personal interaction with specifically women.
After this incident, I would say that we should move to a model where the sannyasis don't accept female disciples. Traditionally, traditionally, grihastas are supposed to go to a grihasta guru, and only brahmacharis and those advanced in renunciation should take up should go to a sannyasi guru.
Yeah, if you allow me, I would like to share how a model in Sri Vaishnavism, it's very nicely, strictly followed, and it is a very practical one. Mm-hmm. Where there are grihastha gurus who come in lineage and they practice that acharyatvam very strictly, nishtas. I would say they are nishtas. And they initiate within their family dependents who are up to the standard, and that acharyatvam is carried on to the next in the generation. So this keeps coming, and I was asking, and there was this other system where there is an institution like Ahobala Mutt, Varnashram, Vanamamalai, Mutt. So you could go to Mutt, and the Mutt will have the seers who are sannyasis, Matatipatis. So they will also have a lineage of initiating. So I asked Ritvikism Swami, the one who is very erudite scholar, and practitioner. We have talked about M.A. Venkatkrishna Swami in Chennai. He was a previous HOD, head of the Department of Madras University, Department of Vaishnavism, and now he runs a magazine, Geeta Acharyan. He lives right out of very near to the Trivikrama in Chennai, the temple, Parthasarathi temple. So I asked him this question, Swamiji, do you have any plan to become an initiating guru? Do you plan to accept disciples? He's already quite old, and how are you going to transfer your knowledge? You have so much knowledge. How do you plan to transfer the knowledge to the next generation? I was curious. I took his permission and I asked him. And he said, well, I actually come in the lineage wherein my family would be initiating. But over a period of time, we all went to the Mattam, the Vanamamalai Jiyar Mutt. So they transitioned from a familial initiation system to a system where sannyasis are there. So they go there and take. So I may continue, my generation may continue that. So the first thing is, he was not eager to be attached to this becoming a guru. Second thing is, he had solid background, basis of why things were changed and why he doesn't want to change it back. You see, because his the recent forefathers went to the Mattam to get initiation. So the point is segregating the sexes and segregating ashramas. This has been very solid in the system. So this is probably why we don't see that big fall downs in these traditional Madhva or Sri Vaishnava. And even if the fall downs are there, there are for mild sense gratification. Probably, I'm not sure. I mean, there must be something. It's
anyway,
not that there is nothing.
It's not like reigning gurus or sannyasis. And
so anyway, I just wanted to add that system is also what you are suggesting is not new.
Yeah. So there was there's one statement from Prabhupada. He's actually quoting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who's referring to Hari Bhakti Vilas, and Hari Bhakti Vilas gives the recommendation is that one should take initiation from a Brahmin, Vaishnava guru, and if not a Brahmin Vaishnava guru, then a Kshatriya, and if not a Kshatriya, then a Vaishnava, and then if not a Vaishnava, then a Shudra, etc., like that. And then Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is commenting that this is only for persons who want to remain in the material life. That if one really wants a bona fide spiritual master, one should be prepared to accept a spiritual master from any status of life. Fine. At the same time, say that we have a problem with people associating with illicit association. And so these rules are going to be more appropriate for our situation. So therefore, if a woman is on the level of bhava, if she's really above the varnashram, just like we read at the beginning here, just like we read at the beginning, the tavat karmani kurvita na nirvid yetayavata matkata shavanado va shraddha yavan najayate. As long as one is not satiated by fruit of activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtan, Vishnu Smaranam, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. So, time, place, and circumstance, right? So, circumstance is that we may not be that guru who is situated above the rules and regulations of the Vedic injunctions, whose taste in Krishna consciousness is fully awakened. We may not be that guru. And if we're not that guru, then we have to follow these other injunctions.
Right. And Jiva Goswami also in his Bhakti Sandarbha clearly states that there are two levels of Mahabhagavatas. One is at the Krishna Prema, but if somebody is not perfected with Krishna Prema, if he is following Pancharatrika Vidhi and he understands Artha Panchaka, he knows Artha Panchaka, then he can be a Mahabhagavata Guru. So, but one has to follow the Vidhi, the Pancharatrika system. So
yes, so we have, as Prabhupada mentions in the Easy Journey to Other Planets, monitor gurus.
Monitor gurus.
You're on a lower level. You're sadhakas, actually. This is the point, because when he's talking about the monitor gurus, he's talking about persons who have become advanced in following the first 20 principles of the 64 angas of sadhana bhakti. So sadhana bhakti is for people especially who are sadhakas. You are not yet siddha. You are not on the level of bhava. You're not a prema bhakta. You're on that lower level. So being on the lower level means that, yes, sometimes you can fall down. And that's what we have, this process of atonement and so forth like that. And the Ritviks, they just say, no, there's no atonement because a real guru there's no need for atonement. Well, now you just remove that whole part. All these shlokas, all these prescriptions from acharyas, from a thing. So you're not actually in our sampradaya. So anyway, just to get back, we're talking openly about Trivikrama Maharaj. He wants to be referred to as Prabhu, but the point here is that at least the second item in the prescribed prayascitta, in the prayascitta prescribed to him, there's a, we found it somewhat questionable in that in order to do the prayascitta properly, he has to be in an ashram, and specifically as a sannyasa ashram, because it's like if you consider the other ashramas, okay, brahmachari has to live under the vrata, has to live under the care of guru. Grihasta is he's 85 years old, so that's probably out. Of course, Prabhupada, he let some of his sannyasis, disciples, go back into the Grihasta ashram, so that's not totally off the table. Conditions. Vanaprastha, definitely, that doesn't sound very suitable, but sannyas is the ashram that he knows for so long. And he was actually doing very well in it. I can tell you personally. I've had good association with Maharaj. So
there is one verse that comes to my mind. We have all heard this verse. Guru rapi avaliptasya karya vijanatah utpannam pratipannasya. We usually hear parityago vidhiyate, right? Parityago vidhiyate. But there is another verse that is from Mahabharata. This verse is from Mahabharata. But there is a very verse from Valmiki Ramayana. And that story goes like this. Lakshmana was quite upset with Bharata when he is coming back to see Rama, and Lakshmana misunderstands. I think it's in that context, or probably when he heard that Rama has to go to the forest. He chastises Dasharatha. He says, this Dasharatha king has lost his mind, and he is hearing this Kaikeyi, and he has gone mad, so he should be killed. He even calls out for such a heavy punishment. But actually he says, and he gives a pramanam from the Shastras. Guru rapi avaliptasya karya vijanatah utpanna pratipannasya karyam bhavati shasanam. It's not parityago. He is saying that one can discipline the guru. The discipline, he can be. So your point that is there a Shastra Praman that you can come back to sannyasa dharma or all these things? One may protest. But I am just saying that there is.
It says that in the Bhagavatam.
It says in the Bhagavatam, but there is much more obvious verse from Ramayana that's coming and saying you could do shasanam. Shasanam means disciplining, giving advice, and play, and it's to the same place where a guru should be rejected as per Mahabharata, parityago, because it has come to that stage. But even in that stage, Ramayanam is saying that karyam bhavati shasanam. So there is not like the Ritvik says, you see one more guru fall down, so now get back to our roster, Ritvik roster. We will arrange a Ritvik for you. You can get initiated. All the disciples, can get initiated by Prabhupada. That is not what Shastra is saying. Ramayanam says that even the disciples can counsel the guru.
Yeah. So this is very important in the Shastras. When you have two seemingly mutually contradictory or conflicting instructions, then because the Shastra is perfect, that's to be understood as a vikalpa or an option. So you can rejection is one option and reform is the other option. So
and that's what Bhagavatam was saying, and that's what you were quoting previously from Prema Vivarta, or Prabhupada was also giving the same. The Vamshidhar.
So Peksheta Nukampaya. So Vamshidhar, and Prabhupada is following Vamshidhar in this, is giving the gloss, the Bhavarta, and that means the intent is that either one ignore, because upeksha means to neglect, you ignore the faults and try to take compassion on him, means to elevate him, bring him back to the path, or the neglect or you actually neglect him actually, and that is also compassion. So both are there. So
yeah, anyway, we also have to remember, I at least remind myself that Trivikrama Maharaj is in my Guru Varga.
Absolutely.
So definitely I will personally, see with some kind of, we need to know our limits. It's not that we just go about, and it's not a sentimental thing, but it's a careful thing. But at the same time, we have to see from Shastra, and that will help every one of us. All of us will be happy if we see from Shastra.
Yeah, that's the point, because what the Shastra does, it allows us to distinguish the difference between imitating Prabhupada and following in his footsteps. So in this case, the Shastra is telling us that you cannot not be in an ashram. That's the thing. Especially in the ashram that you have to be in is the one that you were in that you fell off. That's the one you should be in.
And the second point is, just because you cannot take up this Ritvik suggestion that now your guru is fallen, so go take directly initiation from Prabhupada. That is also against Shastra, against Gopala Bhatta Goswami, against all these recommendations, bypassing all of these things. And I'm just saying that is not an option either.
Yeah. It was one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's Saraswati Thakur's sannyas disciples that he had set aside a mango for a queen at the time, a very special mango, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Saraswati Thakur from that point on only referred to him as Oli Rani Sannyasi. He had the stigma of so he had that thing. So it was a very so that was Saraswati Thakur's mercy on him, that he only referred to him now as the sannyasi who's has that affection for that Rani. So,
mango sannyasi.
Yes. Oli Rani sannyasi. So
Rani sannyasi.
Yeah, so this just reinforced. Yes, there are the people, devotees who fall down. They'll have to live with that stigma. That's not going away, and so forth like that. But the purification requires that you return to your ashram. That's just what we want to say. You have to be situated in some. You have to be situated in some ashram, at the very least. Prabhupada, he did give his householders, his sannyas disciples before the option of being grihastas again. So he made that concession. But the Shastras clearly recommend returning to your ashram. If you fell down, if you were a householder, because these apply to householders too. If you're not following the regulative principles as a householder, then you're a renegade. You're also ashram apasada. That you're ashrama vidambana. Ashrama vidambana, that you're imitating. So you're not actually in that ashram. So that's the point, is that if you're going to imitate, then you're not really in an ashram at all, because you don't get the fruit of the ashram. You should be getting some fruit. So therefore, to get for that purification, to help with that purification, you also have to be in an ashram. So I sincerely hope to one day be, again, referring to Maharaj as Maharaj. I just want to say that also I had wanted to discuss privately with Maharaj, but enough time went by, and I thought that perhaps he's not going to discuss further privately. But these are such important things, matters, and they apply very widely to many issues that we're having, related issues, that this needed to be discussed openly. And because this letter is also being shared openly, that we discuss it here in a sober way, in the light of the Shastra and the statements of our previous acharyas and Srila Prabhupada. So, is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off here, Prabhu?
No, I with the same mode, to how do we see these are all tough times. It's definitely, we just spoke on, is Ritvikism the alternative to get, what is that? I mean, something, I'm paraphrasing. Our previous talk was on this topic, and this kind of thing how happens. It doesn't mean we throw the baby with bathwater.
Of course.
It's not. So this may say one more victim, one more, all these things can come, but we have to see in the light of Shastra, and we have to be, I think I am hearing some of the lectures, and one thing that I myself remind is the Prabhupads had narrated the story of Birbal and Akbar. Akbar was disagreeing with Birbal that sense gratification is too strong. And Akbar says, how can that be when the senses are all gone? One would not be sexually inclined. Something like that. And Birbal takes him to an old man, and he says, you bring your youngest daughter too. But one thing I'll tell you is, before you watch the eyes of the old man, where the eyes of the old man who is on the deathbed fixed. So Akbar realizes that the old man was really on the deathbed, was fixing his eyes on his daughter, Akbar's daughter. So it's like, these are Prabhupada is giving us these stories so that we have to be very careful. It's not that we speak out of arrogance or out of false ego, and we should be compassionate, but at the same time we should be self-disciplined. That's something that I pray.
Absolutely. So we'll pray for the recovery, atonement of Trivikrama Maharaj, and we hope that this discussion that we had will be of some use to the general public.
Yeah, and I also recommend the viewers to subscribe to our channel. This is very important that we discuss. It's not that we are here for doing any promotion, but I really like to. Many of them are asking me some questions in WhatsApp, but it's a good way to discuss these things. And as you said, books are basis. So studying Prabhupada books in conjunction with all the Shastras is a key for us to be constantly on touch with Srila Prabhupada.
Absolutely. So we'll end here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
See you next time. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.